If you want to stay up to date with all current hip-hop events and releases, make sure to subscribe, turn on notifications, and hit that like button. It really helps me out. So the other day, I came across this video on YouTube by CDTV Productions titled The Decline of Trap Music. It talked about how over the past couple of years, trap music has become less and less memorable due to the fact that trap albums coming out are not as good as lone-standing projects as they were in the past. He names the years 2014 to 2017 as an example, and projects like Travis Scott's Rodeo, Ray Shremmer's Shrem Life, Young Thug's Jeffrey and Slime Season 3, Migos' Culture, and Metro Boomin's Without Warning as a representation of this era. The other side of the coin is made up of releases like Navs' Good Intentions, which you already know I really wasn't a fan of, Future's High of Life, same goes for this one, Rich the Kid's Boss Man, and Lil Baby's My Turn. The reason, he goes on to say, for this is one thing: oversaturation. Meaning that the track lists get longer and longer with filler tracks that don't add anything to the album, and if anything, take away from its artistic cohesiveness and are just there to add playtime and in turn make more money. He mentions something that I totally agree with, and that is that artists just pump out a bunch of songs and expect fans to pick their favorites and ignore the rest. This is exactly what made, for example, a Rodeo great, on which every track had a purpose and added to the picture. But now, enough about the video and into what I was trying to say here. Lately, I've been going back and listening to some albums that I remember releasing and listening to at the time of release, but never really finding myself going back to. And one of those was Super Slimey, the collaborative project from Future and Young Thug. As I listened to this, almost 3 years after its initial release, I was incredibly impressed, especially by the flawless production on this thing. Sometimes their vocals aren't mixed perfectly, especially on tracks like 3, where specifically Future's voice is just unreasonably distorted, but you could almost argue this is a stylistic element that is supposed to bring more rawness and energy to the track. Connecting this to the CDTV video I was talking about earlier, I would argue that Super Slimey is maybe the peak of trap music, and one of the last projects that were at that level at that era. It didn't pioneer any sound or push boundaries, but it defined and perfected that Atlanta trap sound more than any project from that time. I'm not here to say that Super Slimey is on an artistic level of Travis's Rodeo, and it's not bold enough to be on that level by far, but it's just a perfect representation of the genre. From the impeccable production from Southside, London, and Wheezy I mentioned earlier to the flows and cadences used by Pluto and Thugger, this album brings everything together and perfects it. Even the argument of runtime is in favor of this project, as it only spans across 13 tracks, and I feel like if there was a single track more on this thing, it would already lose some of its value. So this is me being amazed at how well this project has aged and how it is a perfect representation of trap music. As for the future, I am excited to see what comes next, even if it's not the usual trap sound we're used to. If you've watched this video to the end and liked it, I would really appreciate if y'all would subscribe, turn on notifications, and hit that like button. It really helps me out. So until the next one, y'all have a good day.